Congratulations to the 2021 and 2020 Kansas State University College of Business graduates. Your celebration is a sweet one, considering all you have overcome, first a pandemic and then Kansas thunderstorms, to walk across the stage at Bill Snyder Family Stadium to receive your diplomas on Sunday, May 16th. As a proud alumna of the College of Business, I was honored when Dean Gwinner asked me to be the commencement speaker in spring 2020. When the pandemic canceled those plans, he asked me to speak this year, but weather interrupted the ceremonies. I loved watching you walk across the stage and accept your diplomas and congratulations from Dean Gwinner, President Meyer, Provost Tabor, and the faculty, and I loved hearing all the cheers from your family and friends. I wish I could have delivered my remarks in the stadium when we were all together. I offer these same remarks now as a gift to you and my alma mater. My speech today is much different than what I would have delivered in May of 2020. But I drafted that speech before COVID-19, before George Floyd, and before the January 6th attack on our nation's capital. This is a different speech because this is a different moment. Today, we are a nation divided, economically, racially, politically. During your time at Kansas State, you have seen this division yourselves right here on campus. But despite what divides us, one thing is certain. Our division is a threat to our democracy. We saw it on January 6th. On that day, set aside every 4 years to count electoral votes, some people tried to stop our democratic constitutional process to confirm the next duly elected president of the United States. On that day, if the people who stormed our Capitol had succeeded, they would have disenfranchised every voter in our nation. Your vote and my vote would not have counted. Let me say that again. Your vote and my vote would not have counted. In countries around the world, dictatorships have begun this way. However, in our country on January 6th, the people who breached our Capitol did not succeed. And yet, we should all be concerned that the threat to our democracy remains. Last month, U.S. Supreme Court Justices Sonia Sotomayor and Neil Gorsuch, who usually hold opposite views on the bench, agreed that misinformation is an urgent threat to our national security. In fact, misinformation is fueling our division that threatens our democracy. Neil Gorsuch went on to say, if we don't tend to the garden of democracy and the conditions that make it right, it's not an automatic thing. Democracies fall apart from within. Today we are a nation divided, but these are not unprecedented times. This is a moment in time. Think of all the divisions that were sown in this country during the Revolutionary War, the Civil War, the war in Vietnam. Despite our divisions, we have always, always prevailed. I ask you to consider for a moment the people in our country born between 1901 and 1927. For many of you, your great-grandparents. These are the men and women who either fought in World War II or supported the war effort here at home. You might not know it, but the times they grew up in looked a lot like yours. As you were shaped by the Great Recession of 2008, they came of age during the Great Depression after the stock market crash of 1929. As you embraced technologies like smartphones, social media, and the internet, they relished in the rise of the radio, the telephone, and the automobile. As you danced to pop and rap and streamed movies on Netflix, they cut a rug with swing, a new form of jazz, and flocked to the cinemas in the golden age of Hollywood. And then they grew up. For on December 7th, 1941, after our country was attacked at Pearl Harbor and the time came for us to fight, this generation went to war. Some of them were just 17 years old. But they went because it was the right thing to do for our country and for the world. The challenge was immense, and the effort was collective. To meet this moment took patriotism, perseverance, sacrifice. But this generation came together, compelled by a shared vision. In 1994, the NBC Nightly News TV anchor and journalist Tom Brokaw did a story about the men and women of World War II. In awe of what this generation had achieved, he said, "I believe that this is the greatest generation any society has ever produced." The name stuck, and the young people of that time became known as the Greatest Generation, and that became the title of Tom Brokaw's bestseller book in 1998. I know this generation because my mother and father were part of it. They had 8 kids, I'm number 6. Mom was busy, and Dad worked a lot, full-time at Beach Aircraft in Wichita and part-time as a farmer. He even ran a little business on the side, upholstering chairs for neighbors and friends. Some days I wonder how they did it all, but deep down I know they simply did what needed to be done. During the war, Dad served in the Navy on a transport in the South Pacific. He didn't talk much about the war, but one time he told me about the day they were late picking up fellow servicemen from one of the islands. When the transport finally landed, the servicemen were crying because the fighting was so intense and they were just so happy to be rescued. Here's what I can tell you about the Greatest Generation. They didn't really know how things would turn out, but they all had a shared belief that they would be victorious as a country, that they would come out on the other side. The Greatest Generation had a unique role to sacrifice to save the world from what Tom Brokaw in his book called powerful, ruthless, fascist maniacs. Today, the magnitude of the challenge before us is just as sizable and just as serious. Like the Greatest Generation, you have a unique role to be the catalyst to narrow our divide and heal our nation. To be the catalyst is an opportunity. It's a chance to put yourself into spaces where you feel uncomfortable so you can learn the realities of others. It's a chance to seek knowledge with intention from reputable sources by using reason and common sense. Read, and read some more. It's the chance to call out injustice and refuse to stand for policies and laws that widen our divide, economically, racially, or politically. To be trusted with a unique role is an invitation not extended to every generation. As President John F. Kennedy said in 1961, "In the long history of the world, only a few generations have been granted the role of defending freedom in its hour of maximum danger." This is that hour, and you are now one of the few generations. It won't be easy, but that's okay, because Kansas State doesn't prepare you for the easy times. Kent Glasscock, who serves with me on the Dean's Business Advisory Council, reminded me of this as I reflected on my own experiences at Kansas State. That first fall, I remember, like it was yesterday, walking on campus thinking I was the luckiest person in the world to be here at this beautiful place. A place with a culture grounded in ethics, hard work, responsibility. A place with professors who just love to teach and take a personal interest in you, your technical skills, and your success. And a place with football, Kansas State Wildcat football. Yes, I was lucky, and you are lucky too, because you've gotten all this and more. You've taken courses in leadership and discovered the power of empathy in business. You've celebrated diversity, equity, and inclusion right here on campus in our new multicultural center. and you've learned how to have hard conversations with people who've seen and lived life differently than you. That is why today, because of who you have become at Kansas State, you are ready to take on the not-so-easy times. You are the generation ready to be the catalyst who will drive change in your workplaces, your C-suites, your boardrooms, and your communities. And so you have a choice. The author David Foster Wallace, in his commencement address at Kenyon College, spoke about the need to exercise control over how to think and what to think about. He said, "You must choose what you pay attention to and choose how to construct meaning from experience." So I am asking you today to choose to pay attention to the division in our country that threatens our democracy. Your choice will define your life and the legacy of your generation, just as it did for the greatest generation that came before you. This is your call to be a generation known for securing a more free, just, and equitable nation. A nation no longer threatened by misinformation and division. A country that lives by its Constitution so that government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth. That is why this is your moment and now is your time. Heroic efforts will be required to meet this moment. Your generation must come together, compelled by a shared vision, to help all of us believe that we don't always have to be against something or against each other, that we can actually be for something together. Despite the rain, it is fitting that we were together in Bill Snyder Family Stadium to celebrate your commencement, one of the best days of your life. One of my best days happened there in 2019 when I saw the Kansas State Wildcats beat the Oklahoma Sooners. I remember that game because I love the Cats and I love football. You've probably seen the movie Remember the Titans, starring Denzel Washington as head coach Boone and Will Patton as Coach Yost. It tells the story of what happened to a high school football team in Virginia in 1971 after busing forced the integration of a white school with a black school. Toward the end of the movie, the team had come together, but the coaches were still at odds. It's halftime, and the team is losing the state championship game. Yost and Boone agree that if they want to win, they need to end their division, work together, and shake things up. They have to be bold, and they have to go big. So Denzel Washington, Coach Boone, calls out to the players, "Listen up. This is our time. Second half is our time. We're going to make some changes. Everybody in. Our time. Let's go." And so to all you graduates, be bold, go big, make some changes, take a position, everybody in. Because this is your moment, and now is your time. Let's go. Thank you.